All right, guys, we're going to start with our second panel session here. Return of the King, innovations on Bitcoin. So we have TAC, Botanix, and BitFlow, as well as some stacks representation, are bringing back Bitcoin back to rule. Let's see how they're crowning it. And we can start things off with some introductions, a little bit on your guys' background and the project that you're working on.
Hello. The Return of the King. Great to be here with you guys. My name is Dylan. I am a co-founder of BitFlow Finance. We are building a decentralized exchange for Bitcoiners. A couple of years ago, everybody would have told you that we're crazy and it's not possible, or why are you doing this at all? And I think we all probably love BTC, the asset, and we're just excited to try to innovate around it. So happy to dive in some more.
Yeah, we all love the asset, yes. Hey guys, my name is Philip. I'm with Botanix Labs. We're building a spider chain. It's a scaling solution for Bitcoin, purposely built for DeFi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marco, and I'm the co-founder of TAC. TAC is basically an extension network for Ton. We are bringing EVM to Ton. And for the people that are asking, what's the link with BTC, is that we are running a layer 1, that is a Cosmos SDK, that is going to become a Babylon secured network. So the security of the whole chain that we are building is basically going to be provided by the king.
Amazing. So we have BTC well represented in different aspects and interactions. So I think we'll kick off with, so you guys are, pushing the boundaries of Bitcoin beyond just digital gold, TAC with adding your Bitcoin security layer to the TON adapter, Botanix with breaking down barriers and building on top of Bitcoin, BitFlow with yield opportunities for Bitcoiners. What's one thing Bitcoin has been missing to reclaim its throne and start dominating DeFi moving forward?
Yeah, I think the answer is time, and I think it's actually just like a matter of months and not years. It's I think previously Bitcoin was blocked by maybe a bad UX or maybe impractical scaling solutions, but like not really anymore. We have fungible token standards on Bitcoin now. We have great wallets. We have L2s, and we have idle liquidity. So it's I think it really is just about the builders, putting all these pieces together in the right way in a product that people love to use.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I probably would differentiate between Bitcoin, the asset. Nothing is needed but time, I would say. But specifically talking DeFi, I think there is still something missing. And I think we still haven't seen a Bitcoin scaling solution and a team that succeeds in a combination of things. And I think, I think Tom mentioned it on the last panel, right? I think decentralization and security is key. A second piece is performance. And then the third one, and I think it touches a little bit on what you said, is that we're also still missing the UX, and we barely talk about this in the industry, the go-to-market. I think that ties really nicely with what you're building. But I think a combination of these things, specifically for Bitcoin DeFi, is still missing.
Yeah, connecting on Philip answer. For Bitcoin, for the asset, I believe, yes, time is important. And the more we go on, the more we understand that actually Bitcoin is the best level of security and decentralization that you may have today. And like in my experience, I used to be the co-founder of another layer 2 on top of Ethereum. The real value that Ethereum brings to layer 2, it's basically the settlement and the security of the settlement layer. Once you are able to use a much more secure settlement layer like Bitcoin, it's game over, right? So it's just a matter of start to see flowing in these new use cases that are going to leverage on the security aspect of the network to power new use cases and to power even innovation coming from the Ethereum world, like the EVM, for example. That's what many of us are doing, even on and as Bitcoin layer 2, many of them are using EVM. So yeah, mixing the brain power and the innovation coming from the Ethereum industry in the last 10 years, if we think about DeFi, with the security of a strong settlement layer like Bitcoin is going to be massive,
Definitely. And we're seeing that excitement to be building in the Bitcoin space. And that's one focus, we did well at Ankr in the EVM and bringing our infrastructure to the Bitcoin space, enabling exciting projects and streamlining customized infrastructure packages to make it hopefully soon as easy as it has been to build on EVM, within the Bitcoin ecosphere and with amazing protocols like yourselves. So I guess kind of along that line, where do you guys see Bitcoin stealing the spotlight moving forward from not just Ethereum, but other chains or networks that may have some hype, whether it's from the tech side, the eventual adoption side, or just the overall hype and general public knowledge?
Yeah, I think this is well, look, I want to start by saying I'm not a maxi, so like maybe we can still be friends, right?
Yeah.
But this will be one of like something I'll be asking a lot of Ethereum folks, this week is can you help me understand your argument better where like Ethereum's not really caught in the middle right now, where like you were saying you can have Bitcoin as a very secure settlement layer, but then you also have super high performant, other chain like Solana, right? But then maybe like if we have these L2s that are on Bitcoin, do they also need to compete with Solana on that level, right? In terms of performance and potential throughput. I think they're going to have a hard time competing in terms of like ultrasound money. I think Bitcoin wins there. So if you have a credible roadmap for having fungible tokens on Bitcoin and having protocols built on Bitcoin, and they can scale and compete with the table stakes for performance and for throughput, then I think that's a winning formula for Bitcoin and Bitcoin DeFi and the L2s that are in the and I think it's very positive sum as well. Like we have a bunch of different Bitcoin L2s. That was the hot topic, at least in the Bitcoin circle at ETH Denver last year. And now I think it's time to show like what have you built, and I think people have been really heads down building some incredible stuff, and I think we're very, very close to realizing like an amazing UX for Bitcoin DeFi. So, but I'm open-minded too. I'd love to hear more from the ETH folks about how they're not sort of in the middle of that a rock and a hard place, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think I look at this on a very high level. I came to the industry from the finance and business side. And building on your point earlier that time is needed, I actually think that Bitcoin and DeFi have already won. And the reason being is that all the technology will be built, right? But so far in history, humanity has always built a financial system based on a global reserve currency, right? And right now that's the dollar. And I think in crypto, it's already decided that Bitcoin is the reserve currency in our industry, and it hasn't taken over the traditional world yet. But I think no one in crypto would still doubt that. I mean, we see it with the dispersion in the market right now, and I think it's just a matter of time until, based on the global reserve currency, Bitcoin, the financial system, will be built.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a long-term user and adopter of this technology. I started with Bitcoin, and I actually participated to the Ethereum pre-sale. So it was before Ethereum was actually live. I tell you from my experience, at the very beginning, building a Bitcoin was not really like nice experience because there's nothing to do. There was nothing to do for a long time. I was there. I was trying to get involved. What you do? Either you join the Bitcoin core team, or you join some of the team that runs alternative clients, or you spend your time at that time on Bitcoin Talk forum, then on Reddit, and then on Twitter, or you build some wallet. But how do you make money with the wallet? So because there are no swaps and things like this. So that pushed all the brains, all the people that wanted to build something to converge on Ethereum. And that's when you actually started to see a lot of innovation coming out. So I don't think that we should actually bash the Ethereum industry, because what Ethereum gave to the world, it's massive. It's going to be interesting to see how it will flesh out, because once you have a new, not a new, but a better way to settle operation and use cases, and once you have a better asset to base your DeFi on, like BTC as the hard asset of DeFi will be amazing. Compared to it, we are bridging the gap, because on Ethereum, you have a natural yield coming from proof of stake. On Bitcoin, you have a natural yield coming from the restaking through Babylon, right? So we are completely bridging the gap. It's going to be very interesting to see how this will roll out. Are we going to have people innovating new use cases on this new layer secured by Bitcoin based on the BTC hard asset, or we are going to still see innovation coming on Ethereum and then moving after it's battle tested on a more ossified, I would say, stack, like more battle tested like the Bitcoin stack. That is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, very well said. Unless, did you have something, Philip? I saw you grab the mic. No?
No, but I mean, it resonated really well with me. I only joined Botanix beginning of the year, and I spent the last years in the EVM ecosystem. Reason being, there was nothing for me to do because I'm not an engineer. So I always wanted to be in Bitcoin, but I didn't know what to do, right? So, and I'm very happy that these ecosystems can actually live alongside and they don't need to fight. And so that's how I see it. So it just resonated. So not really a comment, but.
Yeah, I had a similar experience as well. I was in grad school working on my master's in computer science, and I reread the Bitcoin white paper, like rediscovered it for myself, and wanted to contribute. But listen, I'm smart, but I'm not Bitcoin core engineer smart, and so I just happened to stumble upon the Stacks white paper at the time, and it said in big bold letters, smart contracts for Bitcoin, and so I that's what got me really curious. I was very close to becoming a Solidity developer, even though I wanted to contribute to Bitcoin. And that's smart contracts for Bitcoin. I wanted to learn more about what does that really mean. What are the limitations of that system? What can we build? And where is that going? And yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I feel like I hope the biggest contribution that we make to Bitcoin is giving people more of a reason to transact on layer one, and sort of putting some folks at ease when they think about the question, like, is Bitcoin going to be able to survive long term when miners have to rely on the transaction fees alone? And I think really just getting more people to use the chain was very exciting.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And I think we have, a unique batch of folks up here and that touch different ecosystems and even virtual machines. Like, you guys attack, being Cosmos SDK integrated with Babylon and having that Bitcoin security layer, but being 100% EVM compatible and really servicing the TON ecosystem with the adapter and touching not only Web3, but Web2 users on Telegram is just kind of, very fascinating and the epitome of, branching and coming back, though, like we're saying here, the asset class for the settlement, and same with you guys at Botanix and the EVM compatibility and enabling and opening the door for developers that do want to come in and welcoming them with open arms and great tooling, and you guys as well at Stacks and the opportunities as well on the decks. Just kind of curious on, double clicking on that and your guys' viewpoint or approach as a project on enabling developers that might not originate from the Bitcoin space or just collaboration with other VMs or ecosystems.
Yeah, I think we like at the DEX level, we want to make it very easy for people to build products on top of it. And I think where we're headed is Bitcoin capital being deployed more into strategies and not necessarily into liquidity pools. And you do need the Lego blocks, the building blocks that we do have the advantage of looking at Ethereum and seeing what's worked really well there and trying to recreate this in a Bitcoin centric way. But yeah, definitely, there's like a BitFlow SDK. Any developers can check that out and start building on top of the liquidity pools. But yeah, I think just having fungible tokens on Bitcoin and getting them to that's something that is still very, very new, and there's so much that anyone could explore just on their own. They don't necessarily have to be building on top of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think for me it was a purposefully taken decision that we're running a EVM equivalent proof of stake chain on Bitcoin. And the reason being, coming from the EVM space, we want to tap into the developer talent. We want to tap into battle tested existing projects from the EVM space being able to come over. And I think that is just part of the game to not further fragment the industry, right? And I think also we need to be open-minded because, for example, I don't think it's a secret. We talked like 2-3 weeks ago, right? Because I'm really interested looking at his hat, how we can get these 950 million people also offer something from the Bitcoin universe, right? So I think make it as easy as possible for developers and then be open-minded to collaborate with everyone.
Yeah, that's the only possible approach. Guys, we are less than 1% of the global population that is onboarded on crypto. You know, like the road is way, way, way more along that than we all think. One point, again, it's about fighting resistance. There are a lot of resistance. Like on stacks, I remember clear when stacks went out, right? The pushback from the BTC Maxi community was impressive, I would say. That's actually the same thing that we see on Ethereum today, right? Like the pushback from Ethereum to alternative L1 is massive, you know? And at the end of the day, it's all value that we are not able to maximize by working all of us together. Yeah, I mean, we took the EVM path because, of course, same reason that was mentioned by Philippe. It's the clear issue with Ton. Like Ton, as if you look at the crypto world, it's like a pyramid. You have a small amount of users compared to the old use case that crypto offer. If you look, the same thing on Ton is a reversed pyramid. You have a huge amount of users, but no use cases. And despite Ton was launched more than 1 year ago. So why it happened? It's because when you embrace a new technology, it takes a lot of time to develop a community of developer and builder and blah, blah, blah. So we decided to go on like the EVM route, but then other issues start, you know? Does it scale? EVM has a lot of bottlenecks. Is it secure? Again, Solidity, it's proven to be secure. We've seen recently with the Bybit tech, right? It was a front-end issue at the end of the day. The smart contract was super secure. So from a like maturity point of view, it's where we want to be. Battle test the thing, because at the end of the day, the cost of capital is impacted by risks, right? So if you embrace a new technology, risks goes up. And if the cost of capital goes up, liquidity expect a lot of returns to flow in. And it's not sustainable anymore. So, but when you opt for EVM and you want to have infrastructure level security, then what you do? You cannot recreate the same decentralization of Ethereum and the same security of Ethereum. So either you go on a layer 2 on top of Ethereum, or with this new solution, you opt for something that is better, that basically is secured by Bitcoin, that is much more secure than Ethereum itself, you know? And it's even probably more like decentralized. So yeah. But the point is working all together and understanding that the barrier that we see are very not useful to anyone at the end of the day, you know, because the cake is so big that there's still a lot of things to do.
Yeah, definitely agree and excited for that Bitcoin security and BSN like yourselves. Yeah, kind of transitioning to more forward-looking and what we'll call scaling the kingdom, going along with our theme here. You know, Bitcoin security is unmatched, but scaling is a challenge. Trust, speed, whatever. What's one limit that, you know, either personally within your guys' project or that you've seen in the space, and just kind of how you've attacked or approached it?
One limit in what type of limit do you mean?
Scaling.
In scaling specifically, I think I mostly think that we have a bunch of different scaling solutions that are out there right now, and it's kind of like a live experiment to see what is going to stick. You know, you have Lightning, maybe for example. So having unilateral exit back to layer 1 is something that might be, you know, like maybe there are more opcodes that'll come along that'll make that possible for all the different L2s. It's easy to get Bitcoin into a system. It's, you know, trickier to get it back out. But yeah, there's a bunch of different L2s right now, and mostly what I think we need is a good product. So I started to talk about Lightning. Lightning does have unilateral exit, but it doesn't have global state, doesn't really have smart contracts, and so it's difficult to build on top of. It's difficult to route liquidity, and you know, I think Stacks is nice where it has those things, but it doesn't have the transactions are as secure and hard to reorg as Bitcoin itself. If you mint an asset on the Stacks chain, right, that mint is conditional on the L1 transaction being confirmed. If that's no longer in the longest chain tip, then that mint gets rolled back. But that Stacks doesn't currently have unilateral exit to get your Bitcoin into SBTC and then back out. So yeah, sorry, just to summarize, there's a bunch of different designs. I don't think we have a serious limitation on it right now. It's I think it's going to come down more to who builds the best product that wins people over.
I have to say, the answer sounded good, but I didn't catch the question. So
Yeah, just challenges and scaling either within your own project that you faced at some point, or within the Bitcoin protocol space in general.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there are no scaling issue anymore for Bitcoin, but in general for crypto, right? We used to have this issue for a long time about scalability. It seems that it's not there anymore. Like if we look around, Bitcoin fees are not very super high. I think that few weeks ago we cleared out, like it's wrong approach, but yeah, we cleared out the mempool. It's not how does it work, but yeah, it means that there were not many transactions in the buffer, in the Bitcoin network pending. If you look on Ethereum, layer 2s or even Ethereum, like there's an abundance of block space, right? It seems that there's no scalability issue. The real scalability issue is on the distribution. There are not enough users. That's it. And actually, it's the challenge. It's not a challenge. It's our goal. What we're trying to do is to connect the users that are on Telegram to the assets that we bring on chain, and of course the use cases. And that's what we are trying to fix with actually working with distribution channels like Telegram mini apps, for example. This is a perfect distribution channel. So that the challenge that we are facing is trying to build up this ecosystem. It's very early for us. We just went live on a testnet. It's super, super early stage. We started working on this project 6 months ago, I would say, more or less. So yeah, I mean, still will take some time, but we are looking at very interesting progress just in discussing with people. But I believe that the only issue we have today is on the scalability side, it's distribution.
Yeah, maybe to bring it full circle, I agree with Marco, what you said. The name of the panel, Return of the King, right? I think all the Legos are there, and we just now need to puzzle, what was it? Puzzle the pieces together, right? I think it's all there, and then we hopefully have the Return of the King.
Amazing. Yes, love to see that. All right, last one, and we'll get it wrapped up here. But picturing Bitcoin in 2030, King again. What's one game-changing use case, either specifically with your project or just in general with Bitcoin that you'd love to see in the real world?
Yeah, the Return of the King. What's going to make it last? What's it going to look like in 5 years? I think maybe Bitcoin is the only relevant crypto asset to like most people outside of our bubble. I think it has the most institutional interest from TradFi. And I think now that we have fungible tokens on Bitcoin, that is going to be a killer use case that helps Bitcoin DeFi thrive. I think that asset issuers, like major asset issuers, are gonna they don't want to worry about a chain that they pick and being a ghost chain 5, 10, 50, 100 years from now. Like I think people will deploy assets or asset issuers will choose to do that on Bitcoin because they believe it has the best chance to be around 5, 10, 50, 100 years from now. And then those assets will go wherever they need to go, just like Bitcoin does. And that'll give more people a reason to transact on the chain. And I think the winner in terms of protocols is going to be people that can even abstract the L2 experience as well. So it feels like you're sending a native Bitcoin transaction, because you are, right? And then, but it feels like magic because you're doing something else on the L2, like you're borrowing for a stablecoin, or you're trading for a stablecoin, or you're deploying Bitcoin into some ETF style smart contract that has a historical performance of XYZ returns, right? That's where I think we're headed, and and the role that BitFlow plays in that is the DEX infrastructure, but also building these automation services around it where it feels like it's very easy to use native Bitcoin and assets that are on L1 in DeFi. So yeah, I think I don't know. I like our chances. I like the king is still the king, and I think it'll be that way in 5 years and 100 years too.
Yeah, I think that's 5 more years for game theory to play out. I like the abstraction piece. I think we're just getting closer to a world running on Bitcoin, at least the financial world. And I think in 2030, we'll be much closer.
So I will be a bit more spicy and bold. 5 years from now, you say? So we have two options. If in 5 years from now we're going to get OPCAT included in the Bitcoin stack, I believe that would be the only blockchain alive in 5 years from now. Like it's game over for all the other chains with OPCAT embedded. Without OPCAT, I really don't believe that Bitcoin interested people will have any interest issuing assets. I believe that it's going to be still something that will happen on other chains, still something that will be like the side retail use cases, but Bitcoin will just be the hard asset of all these things and providing the security to all these things. Pretty much like, today you have gold. Gold is mined in mines and caves, but then is used to build consumer things that goes elsewhere, outside of the mine. I believe that if Bitcoin will not evolve with OPCAT to capture developers, use cases, activity, and assets with value, then it's going to be that case, where Bitcoin will still be the best asset that people will use as a reserve asset across all the different use cases that will happen elsewhere.
Well
My
said.
2 cents.
Yeah, no, completely agree on that end. And yeah, I appreciate your insights and your time, gentlemen. With that, many thanks to Marco, Philip, Dylan, and everyone here at ETH Denver. So let's give a hand for our panelists. Thanks, guys.